Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, the Fuzz is here with another Spellweaver Talk video. And today's topic, I want to talk about the hero abilities, including all of the actual heroes you can get and the shrines you can acquire in the game. I want to focus more on how we can make them a little bit more balanced, a little bit more competitive with each other, so that we're not all constantly relying on the same old ones, that is, basic Darius, basic Neva. I'm just gonna call her Neva. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. And of course Despina, and maybe with a dash of this dude over here. So let's just start straight from the top. Now the order has some of the better balanced abilities in my opinion, where you have the basic one just summons a dude, a soldier, which fits fairly well with the basic theme of order of buffing up dudes and soldiers in particular. While the more advanced one focuses on the more powerful creatures, the angels. Now, of course, if you're not running angels, this ability sucks. But if you are running angels, it's pretty good. Now, the other aspects, unfortunately, don't have this nice synergy going on. So let's see what we got next. We've got Wisdom. Our good friend, Basic Darius. This ability, the way I think this should be changed a little bit is maybe rather than it costing 3 mana and having a cooldown of 2, flip those around, make the cooldown 3 and the cost 2. Because the way I see it, generally you're mostly drawing these cards later on when you have plenty of mana to spare anyways. And I think with a cooldown of 3, you wouldn't be able to just every other turn, extra card, every other turn, extra card. It would take you a little bit longer. Maybe you might have to find other ways to draw cards. That I think would make this ability a little bit less all-purpose awesome. And then maybe this ability would get played a little bit more. The Advanced Darius. I think this is a pretty awesome ability. Shock everything. But unfortunately, this is really only good if you're just trying to push for damage. But in order for this to be any good, you have to have a board ready to do the damage. Otherwise, all this will really help you with is just hold off the aggression for one turn. You could maybe clean a couple creatures with 1 health. But I think I would like to see this played more, and unfortunately the basic Darius is just too good to pass up in its current form. Maybe if we switch these two, cost and mana, it would be a little bit more balanced. But I don't know. That's just how I feel about this aspect, and we just disconnected. I was moving my mouse. What's going on? Whatever. Back to business. Sorry about that. The nature aspect, we've got Reverence and Native Terrain. Now, Reverence, I think, is pretty awesome. Should stay like it is, although there is a bug right now where if you activate it, it makes every creature cost 1, which is absolutely redonkulous. If you can drop 3 cost, 4 cost creatures for 1, but that'll just get fixed in the next patch, probably. But then this ability, the basic Neva, all your stuff gets Swift. Man, that just screams aggro, doesn't it? And it seems a little bit too good compared to some of these other abilities. Give everything haste for 1 mana, or haste, swift, you know what I mean. Compared to, let's say, you know, 1 creature can't block for 1 mana, doesn't seem very fair. This ability, I think, should either cost 2 mana, or the more likely scenario, make it only give swift to the next creature you play. It would still be pretty good with the jungle death trap shenanigans that you usually do, but you wouldn't have these situations where you just, you know, you play 4 creatures later on, you give them all swift and swing for 10 damage or something, because that doesn't seem too fair. It's like aggro after aggro. And with just 1 creature getting swift, I think it'd be a little bit more reasonable. Rage. Let's start with our good buddy Basic Zash. Do you guys remember what his ability used to be? It used to be pretty awesome. In fact, so awesome it was nerfed. It used to do 1 damage for 2 mana, and I believe the cooldown was 3. So it was pretty good. But it turns out that denying your opponent 1 health creatures forever is a little bit too good. So it was replaced with an enemy creature cannot block this turn, which turns out is just not very good. Because you could just kill the creature, or just ignore the creature. Usually if you're playing red, you'll have a bunch of goblins on the board. And trying to make one thing not block, that's just not going to make a difference. When you could be using abilities like like this one, or even the advanced, which could just wipe the entire board. The one thing about this ability is that it kind of guarantees you the damage, which is what I think makes it a nice finisher for aggro even. But the board wipe capabilities make it able to hold off other aggro decks as well. Now, but back to this one. How I would like to see this changed is make it do 1 damage, but without actually doing 1 damage. So what am I even talking about? Make this ability 1 aspect, I guess 1 mana, maybe 2. Target creature becomes burned. Now what burned would be like a separate counter, similar to what the Elven Tracker gets when he marks something. And a creature that is burned would take 1 extra damage from every source. So if you hit Karthus with this, you could then send a fireball at him and he's dead. But you can't use this to kill a Disciple of Zash for free. That, I think, would allow this hero to get a little bit more reach on his spells. Just improve his removal overall. Would it be competitive? I don't know, but it would certainly be better than this. Despina. This one, I think that the disparity between the basic and advanced is probably the most ridiculous with this one. The basic Despina, I don't want to call her useless, but basically you have to build an extremely specific deck to make this work. And the only incarnation of such a deck I've even seen played was a variation of a Burning Rage deck that I've seen played by both Kindle and Senelion. And it was a very interesting deck where you would wait till you get a bunch of mana, bunch of Burning Rages, and then you just start sending fireballs and dragonfires at your opponent. Then refill your mana and send more as you're drawing cards. But that deck was good, not because of this ability. It was good because it had all those other cards. It ran Karthus, Vampirism to keep your life going. This ability, I feel, could one day be good. If maybe, I don't know, we got some other cards that can use all the extra mana. Because if you think about it, what card can you even play that can abuse lots of mana? You've got Power Seeker, right? The problem with Power Seeker is that he's just a 0-1 on your opponent's turn, and so he's just easily killed by basically everything. Another card that comes to mind is the Dreadful Nightmares. Let me pull it up real quick. Right here. 0+ whatever. It's designed to mill. It would be a pretty nice idea to use with her, but the problem is, you pay this mana up front. So you can't pay a little bit, use Despina's ability, and then pay more. You just pay once. You could, I suppose, pay some mana, refill your mana, and play a second Dreadful Nightmares. But that seems kind of borderline, and you could probably do better things with it. So, sorry, no respect for that. So how could this be improved? Maybe make it only cost 2 mana, but 2 aspects? And my god, 4-turn cooldown? Isn't that a little excessive? I mean, this has got a longer cooldown than the advanced ability, which is miles better. Oh well. Poor Despina. Her advanced sister is just so much better. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of advanced Despina, this ability is awesome! Well, it used to be ridiculously obnoxious. Back in the closed beta, it used to look at the top 5 cards. Or was it 4 cards? Maybe 4 cards. And then put any creatures on the board that you find there. It also cost 5 mana, but it made the ability way too RNG. This ability, I think, is just super awesome because it allows you to make these really cool plays by anticipating what your opponent will have and then responding accordingly. But because this ability is so good, this ability just... nobody plays this unless you're experimenting. Oh, excuse me. And finally, our good buddy Nephoros is kind of in the same boat as the Despina. This dude is the star of the show, no doubt about it. This ability lets you recycle abilities like from Karthus, from the Succubus. And quite frankly, this probably shouldn't have a cooldown of 2. Should probably be 3. And what else? Otherwise, I guess it's alright. If you don't want to change its cooldown, maybe only make it steal your own creatures and not your opponent's. Nah, probably just make the cooldown 3, so you can't do this as often. As for this guy, Reducing the speed by 1, it's a little better than the basic Zash, because you could actually make good trades with that, slow down a creature to kill it off. But it's just not enough to make a difference. How it could be better is either make the creature's speed reduced to 1 and not by 1, or maybe make the slowdown last till the end of the next turn. Or hell, just make it reduce the speed to 1 or 0 until the next turn, but of course make it cost more. So that this ability has more of an impact. Make the cooldown 3, alright, make the cost 2, and then creature gets speed reduced to 1 until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then the ability would actually be good. It would help you in the early game and in the middle game to get good trades and control the board. As it is, I use this guy a little bit when I played Mana Corruption because I didn't have the advanced one. And this ability was occasionally useful, but quite frankly, I could have used the advanced one. I could have used him and it would have been just as good. Probably better. So that's what I think of these guys. I do wish all of them get to see some play. But now let's talk about the other ones. Let's talk about the actual skill shrines you get from cards. And they have the same thing going on as the heroes. Some are used a lot because they're really good, and some never see the light of day. Let's start from the top. The order ones, again, I like these. This one helps soldiers. If you run that Order Corruption soldier deck, this is pretty decent there. And the Triangelica works with angels. If you're running angels, this is a pretty nice way to win the game, actually. If we ever get more angels, this could be really, really good. Then you look at the blue. The laboratory is alright. It does help the energy theme a little bit. You get 2 energy every 2 turns, which is enough to basically sustain 1 energy-based card on the board, like Force Field, pretty much indefinitely as long as it doesn't get destroyed. So this is probably alright. I don't mind this card too much. This card, on the other hand, is borderline useless. I mean, you could think of this as an order shrine that doesn't draw you a card, but if you play it for mana, you have the option to switch the mana over to an aspect, which is alright, but doesn't even seem that good. This is a nice idea, but it would have to either cost 0 or maybe give you more aspects than 1, but maybe that's overpowered. I would actually just like to see this changed. Maybe a shrine that causes a creature to be frozen, because that's a mechanic that only really is seen on 2 other cards, the Elemental and Flash Freeze. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it would give that aspect some more removal, so you wouldn't have to constantly splash everything into it. Yeah, make this ability like 2 aspects, 2 mana, target creature is frozen. Or something. It would also make Advanced Darius a lot more viable, because it would make it very easy to remove stuff. Then we got Nature. This one, I think, is for the most part pretty decent. +1/+2 is actually pretty powerful because it lets a creature like a 2/2 Elf Warrior kill something like a 3/3 Haldiri Rider, let's say, without actually dying itself. So pretty nice for elves. Not that elves need more help, I mean goodness. Enchanted Spring. Yeah, this is pretty nice. It's basically Tornado Outbreak, but only for your own stuff. That's probably fine. If it was for both, it would be just overpowered. But this can lend itself to some cool decks. I hope we see it more in the future. And now the one I want to talk about the most. Altar of Dragons versus Mountain Sanctuary. The power disparity could not be larger between the two. So this, thankfully, was nerfed. It used to cost only... I mean, it used to only have a cooldown of 1, which was kind of dumb, because you could just fireball kind of every single turn. Now you can only do it every other turn. But why does this ability only cost 1 rage, is what I want to know. This is obviously a high-tier, powerful card. It should be 2. You know what shouldn't cost 2? Mountain Sanctuary. Because this card is the opposite of a high-tier card. Yeah, it supports the totem thing, but you can almost compare this card to the advanced Alexa power that summons angels. This one summons totems. Well, last I checked, totems were just a little bit weaker than angels, right? So why is the cooldown 3? The cooldown here is actually longer than on Call to Heavens. That does not seem fair to me. And also, why 2 rage? Come on. Just make it 1 rage. There's no reason for it to be 2. But even if you did that, even if you made this cost 0 mana, it wouldn't even be good, because until we get more totems and better shamans, this is just never even going to see the light of day. Which is a shame, because I want shamans and totems to be a thing. That would be pretty cool. So yeah. Next up, Cathedral of Night. This is one of the most commonly used shrines, and for pretty obvious reason. I mean, extra 2 life does wonders to help against aggression, while the weakness counter helps against aggression. But the fact that the weakness counter stays on the creature means it's not only good against aggression, but it's good against everything all the time, because you could just weaken a creature and then weaken it maybe 3 turns later. So this ability is a little bit more used than I would like. I'm not sure how you could fix it. I think if you remove the life gain, it would kind of kill the idea. At the same time, it seems to do a little too much. Maybe make it 2 corruption. I mean, 2 dominion aspects, because it's pretty powerful. It would also be less splashable. I say less splashable, maybe a little less splashable, because decks that run this card generally run double dominion anyways. It would just mean they can't use it like right away, like turn 2 or 3 to just kill that creature you just played. Maybe that would help a little. I don't know. Stronghold Metropolis is another culprit. I think the problem here is that this costs 0 mana and has a cooldown of 1. So you can do this every turn for free and get more cards. Yeah, you gotta sack a creature, but you could just as easily have stolen a creature from your opponent and sack that. Or you could bring the creature right back with Occultism, the advanced corruption ability. So I think something should happen here. Maybe make it cost 1. Or at the very least make the cooldown 2, so you can't just draw a card every single turn. Because this card is slowly becoming the new Darius. Now that Darius can't draw every turn, you know, every other turn is still pretty good. Now you can use this, as long as you have creatures to spare, but that's what Restless Tombs is for. Flesh Sculptors can often produce a lot of creatures. Something, I don't know, something should happen to this. It seems a little bit too convenient. And then the last 2, Haunted Cemetery. Same thing as the Raid Shrine. Why is this 2 corruption? I mean, it's not even that good. It's... what? Why does this happen? No activity, but I was moving around. Where was I? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, come again. Anyways, this ability, why does it cost 2 corruption? It's not really that powerful. It's nice, but it's certainly not amazing. I mean, I guess it's an extra zombie legionnaire every other turn, but Restless Tomb already gives you a zombie legionnaire every turn for free. Just make it corruption and you know, whatever. I think it would make it a little bit more splashable, a little bit more playable. Seems more fair that way. And the Granddaddy, Sanctum of the Void. Man, I remember when this skill gave you 2 life when you used it. Those were the days. Now it just kills the creature for free. I guess we have to sell for that. So my complaint here is pretty obvious. It kills a creature for free. But it's not just that. It doesn't even target. So a creature that's protected by something like, what's it called? Namir's Blessing? Just dies to this. And usually gets revived on your opponent's side right after. So what can we do to fix this skill? I don't know. There should be some kind of cost associated with this. Something you have to give up. Maybe, I don't know, lose 2 life? Or perhaps take a card and put them on, or put a card in your hand on the bottom of your deck. Not discard, because that wouldn't even necessarily be a penalty. Put it on the bottom of your deck. And yeah, something like that. So it's not just free removal. Because basically every control deck is running this, and for good reason. It's just take care of any threat. Once you've cleared the board, your opponent basically can't play anything unless they play a lot of things. Because it'll just die to this. often you're forced to maybe play a weaker creature and hope your opponent kills it. So then you can play a stronger creature, and then you have maybe 2 turns before, you know, Soul Prison hits again. Yeah. Something should happen. But anyways, enough of these ramblings of an old man who's wishing for better days. One last thing I want to add is, there's one kind of shrine I would like to see in the game, and it will be essentially a direct counter to this, and to this, and the, and, you know, by extension, this. And that's a shrine that actually summons creatures. The only thing we have right now that summons anything is the basic Alexa power. But that just summons a militia. That's not exactly threatening. I would like if we had something that summons something bigger, you know, like a 3/3. Of course, this will be more expensive, would have a bigger cooldown. But it will be something you can do, something to throw on the board to deal with Sanctum of the Void, to deal with Cathedral of the Night, so you could play your other big creature alongside that thing and not just have it immediately killed. You know, we have so many ways to destroy. I think we need some ways to create, to balance it a little bit. But anyways, that'll be it for today's video. I know I rambled a lot, and hopefully I didn't bore you too horribly with this, but leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more videos. I'll try to keep the topics as relevant as I can. Until next time, see you guys out there.